From the Samsung Production Studios in the heart of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, it's your News 13.
Brought to you by SSPTV and the Standard Speaker.
It was a foolish move on a breezy day. What started with burning some rubbish ended up with cars on fire and an environmental cleanup. The drifting blaze in Drifton, our top story on News 13 for this Tuesday. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kathy Bazinski. One man was rushed to the hospital to be treated for burns. A portion of Route 940 had to be shut down, all due to a fire at a junkyard in Drifton this morning. Well, plenty of things in the yard were flammable. Matthew Petrillo tells us the cause of that fire was some illegal activity.
Today's fire at Drifton Auto Sales and Salvage ripped through almost a half dozen cars and could have quickly spread throughout the woods behind the junkyard. The environmental danger due to both flammable and toxic items in the junkyard prompted the county's Environmental Protection Services to investigate the scene.
There could possibly be oil, gasoline, oil from burning tires in the water. And at this point, we don't see any of those contaminants. So we're not concerned for the environment right now.
The fire began after an employee was burning garbage like pizza boxes in a fire can nearby. The wind carried some of the fire-lit debris, and a brush fire started behind the junkyard. The fire there could have ran up the mountain, but fire crews responded quickly enough to extinguish the fire before any major damage happened.
Fire quickly spread within the junkyard itself.
Fire Chief Scott Costician says this isn't the first time this junkyard had a fire.
It was right after we got our tanker, so it was in 2008. We had a large tire fire on the other side of the house, on the north side of the house. That consumed a lot of resources and took quite a bit of time to extinguish it.
Now all of Hazle Township, including West Hazleton and Hazleton City, have a no burn ban. The fire chief says this is just another example of why that law exists.
Simple things, even like throwing a cigarette out the window right now. The ground is extremely dry. The green foliage hasn't bloomed yet. The grass really isn't getting green because we haven't had no rain, so it's really causing a big problem.
Trouble for the junkyard worsened after a family member of the owner of the junkyard was trying to prohibit fire crews from investigating the scene, so they called state police.
There were some violations of township ordinance here, and state police came to investigate for me. And afterwards, when they departed the scene, I had to recall them back to the scene because one of the family members were giving us a hard time about access to the fire.
The fire chief says this fire was preventable and warns that no one should be burning anything outside. Matthew Petrillo, News 13, Hazle Township.
A man and woman from Pottsville who suffered smoke inhalation when their kitchen stove caught fire remain in critical condition tonight. Dennis Tobias and Jane Shustak were in their apartment in Pottsville Sunday evening when a stove fire erupted and they were overcome by thick black smoke. A neighbor rescued Tobias before fire crews arrived. Then they got into the apartment and rescued Shustak. Both were unconscious. Pottsville fire officials say the stove fire flared up quickly and consumed all the oxygen in the room. The fire has been ruled accidental. Both Tobias and Shustak are in the Lehigh Valley Hospital, Cedar Crest. Another brutal beating in our area with a man left for dead on a street in West Hazleton. But now police say they have pictures of two suspects caught on surveillance tape. Early Saturday morning, a 23-year-old man was beaten near Monroe Avenue and Rose Street. Motion-activated security cameras from a nearby senior apartment building caught three men walking to the scene that morning, but the cameras turned off before the act was committed. Investigators say the camera turned off for 4 minutes because there wasn't enough movement to keep it going. Now, police are trying to put the pieces together while neighbors are concerned about what happened.
When the officers responded, they found an unconscious male laying in the middle of the road with severe trauma to his head area. We have some surveillance of it, and we know there's two other individuals that were with him. However, the surveillance does cut out right as the assault's going to take place, and then comes back on, and you see the individual laying in the middle of the road.
These things happen now. You got to remember, I can't really say, there's a lot of people came into this area, good people and bad people. And, what are you going to do? And there's drugs involved and different things.
Police haven't identified the victim, but his wallet was missing and his cell phone was smashed as well. Investigators say they're tracking the individuals on that video. Well, he's trying to start a grassroots effort to deter crime in his neighborhood, and last night he had the first gathering of what he hopes will evolve into a new crime watch. Zachary Lee held the first Northwest Crime Watch meeting at Perkins in West Hazleton last evening. People from the neighborhood came out to voice their opinions on ways to help with the new crime watch. Other crime watch leaders from around the area came out as well to provide support and advice on how to operate. Now, this group originally got started because there has been some growing crime over time, and people decided they finally had enough and wanted to take some action.
We didn't have one in our area, and talking to neighbors and people that lived in this area, they were getting robbed year after year, and just to make the area safer.
Now, Zachary says he was thrilled with the turnout for the first meeting, but would like more residents to get involved. If you'd like to help or get more information, you can contact Zachary at the email address on your screen or just look for him on Facebook. The Hazleton Area School District will soon be looking for a new contracting firm to oversee some major projects or may consider an in-house coordinator. At a special meeting last night, the Hazleton Area School Board voted unanimously on a recommendation to terminate the contract with Quandel Construction Group. The firm is currently overseeing the current renovations to the Academy of Sciences in the Can-Do Park, as well as the remodeling of the old Bishop Havey High School. Board members stressed, however, that this contract wasn't terminated due to dissatisfaction with Quandel, but because they could not come to an agreement on the language of the contract and the level of Quandel's responsibility.
The primary point was over, accepting responsibility. Let's say there's a year down the road, there's an issue in the building. As far as more specific than that, I'm not sure. But, typically, we were doing this to try and divest the district of, any risk that, we have an issue. I mean, it's fresh in everybody's mind, with the high school. They built it and a year later, the roof's leaking. So that was a point behind trying to get a construction manager is, can we take that risk and transfer it to somebody else?
Now, the board is considering whether or not they'll hire a new contracting firm to oversee the rest of the renovation on the Can-Do building, but we'll have to make a decision sometime in the near future about the Havey School. Well, is it a difference of opinion or a grudge between communities over some owed payments? Christina Papa joined a group of folks from both Cunningham and Sugarloaf today as they tried to talk through some issues.
Sugarloaf Supervisor Rick Weaver is frustrated.
We have so many lawsuits. We have a personal grudge match going on with Cunningham Borough Authority. There's a lot of bills that aren't getting paid, and we're getting interest fees and late fees. The money's adding up.
Weaver has been in office for nearly 2 years, but he still feels out of the loop.
I want to know what's going on at Township. I have a right to know.
Today, he sat down with concerned citizens from Cunningham to discuss why the issues aren't being resolved.
It's the problems in Sugarloaf, and it's been going on, and of course a lot of us ignore it. As we've walked around and talked to people, they go, oh yeah, Sugarloaf has issues, but everybody sits back and does nothing.
Sugarloaf and the neighboring Cunningham Borough have a difference in opinion relating to how unpaid operation and maintenance bills will be paid. The plant is running on money from the ratepayers in Cunningham. Although Sugarloaf is still collecting rates, they're not paying the authority and holding that money in their accounts. Concerned citizens feel Sugarloaf's Township's 2 other supervisors are not being open with issues and not cooperating with Cunningham. And while folks from Cunningham did come out to speak about the issues today, the other 2 supervisors from Sugarloaf were not at the meeting. In fact, when we came here to the Township building today, they said they didn't know about it, and that's why they were unavailable or not willing to speak on camera. Weaver says questions were not answered at the last supervisor meeting because Supervisor Jack Whittick stepped down from his position before discussion could take place. Whittick abruptly resumed his position after that meeting. Now Weaver invites the community to come out to the next meeting to get the answers to the issues.
I would urge everybody to come out to the next supervisors meeting and maybe ask him himself, don't ask me, ask him why he resigned.
Folks at the meeting today from Cunningham believe their borough is ready to negotiate on issues. They're just waiting for the supervisors to meet them halfway. Christina Papa, News 13, Cunningham.
And still ahead on News 13, enjoy what's left of your Tuesday because some sprinkles are about to move in. We'll tell you when in News 13 weather. But first, it's a heart-wrenching story as a family pet is attacked by a pit bull. We'll introduce you to Cookie and tell you how she's doing coming up on News 13. One brave dog is enduring a slow and painful recovery after a vicious attack by another dog. 7-year-old pup Cookie was seriously hurt over the weekend, but as Matthew Petrillo tells us, police have tracked down the owners of her attacker.
Cookie trots with a limp and looks in pain when she gives her tail a wag. She has more than 100 stitches and has to wear uncomfortable headgear so she doesn't bite her wounds. Her currently painful situation is a result from a brutal attack from a pit bull Sunday.
I just couldn't believe it.
Tony Cox owns Cookie and says she's been part of the family for the past 7 years.
Friendly, she's a people dog.
A brave people dog. It all started when Cookie was walking with Tony's son, Charles, down this path behind Hazleton Area High School. A pit bull suddenly started running towards them.
So I turned around to see if it was behind us, and as soon as I turned around, it started gnawing on my dog and jumped all over her. So I tried to get it off of her, and finally I just laid on top of her, and while the dog started yelling for help.
The pit bull then ran away into the woods, but the commotion garnered nearby witnesses to call emergency services.
The ambulance was there taking my son up to the hospital, and the ambulance driver was sitting there with Cookie and had her wrapped up in a blanket. Mm-hmm. And he said, "You're going to have to get her to a hospital, a dog and cat hospital right away, because she's bleeding and she needs stitches."
Charles wasn't bitten, but doctors at Wilkes-Barre General Hospital said he had a mild heart attack from the incident. Meanwhile, Cookie's injuries were so bad that the pit bull nearly killed her. A veterinarian gave her shots, pain medication, and antibiotics. The total bill for the surgery cost Tony nearly $2,000.
I don't even think people should have pit bulls. I think there should be a law against them, because they're very vicious animals. They are very vicious animals.
Police did track down the owners of the dog, and now the family is hoping that pit bull's owners pay up.
I would just like to see, the owners pay restitution and, be responsible for their, irresponsibility.
Matthew Petrillo, News 13, Hazel Township.
God love her. Well, time now for our first look at regional weather from the National Weather Service. Checking the radar, you might begin to see some isolated sprinkles moving through the region, and that will increase into the overnight and bring us a showery Wednesday. Our creative condition is a Technicolor one. It's by Jonas Aponic, a first grader at Valley Elementary, and he says it's a sunny day with blue skies, and there he is in the middle playing with the beach ball. Now let's take a look at News 13 weather from the National Weather Service for Greater Hazleton for tonight. Showers likely as we get more toward morning with a low around 53 degrees. And for Wednesday, showers and possibly a thunderstorm, high near 63. Nighttime showers and thunderstorms likely with a low down to 54. And heading to Schuylkill County for tonight, showers during the overnight with a low around 54 degrees. And for Wednesday, rain with afternoon thunderstorms possible after about noon, high near 65 degrees. Chance of showers at night with a low around 54 degrees. And let's check the winning midday lottery numbers. Good luck if you play. The daily, 653. The big 4, 9815. Quinto, 30064. And the treasure hunt, 12, 14, 16, 27, and 30. Hope you won.
Good evening, everyone, and here's tonight's Talk of the Town report. Anna Montague will once again be teaching Spanish classes at Cunningham United Methodist Church. The classes will meet Mondays beginning June 17th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 or from 6 p.m. to 7:30. To sign up, please call the church office 570-788-3960. And finally, Grammy Award winner Boz Scaggs will bring the unmistakable blend of his blues, rock, and jazz music to the Wells Fargo Amphitheater as he headlines the annual Misericordia University Under the Stars Summer Arts Festival Saturday, July 13th. Tickets are now on sale by calling 570-674-6719. That's tonight's Talk of the Town. News 13 would like to send sincere condolences to the family and friends of these recently departed. Jean M. Pontry of McAdoo. Mass is Wednesday at 11 a.m. in the Church of All Saints. Friends may call Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. at the church. The Damiano Funeral Home is assisting the family with the arrangements. The Reverend Leonard Martin Butcavage of Hazleton. Mass is Friday at 11 a.m. in the St. Joseph's Church. Friends may call Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. in the church. The Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home is in charge of arrangements. Elizabeth Betty Jadish, formerly of Hazleton. Funeral is Wednesday at 10 a.m. from the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home. Friends may call Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Andrew Turner of Drums. Memorial was Wednesday at 3 p.m. in the Irwin W. Judd Funeral Home. And Shirley Drumheller, formerly of Nuremberg. Arrangements are incomplete and will be announced by the Stauffer-Bresnik Funeral Home. Tonight's obituaries have been brought to you by the Smilax Floral Shop located on 15th Street in Hazleton. For delivery to all local funeral homes, call 570-454-0111. And by Mia's, once again the Hazleton area's #1 rated restaurant. Call 570-501-3410 for information on luncheon packages.
SSPTV Sports on News 13 with Fred Barletta Jr.
Well, there was a stretch in time where the Wyoming Valley Conference Softball Championship belonged exclusively to the Hazleton area Lady Cougars. Hard to believe they haven't won one since 2008, but that's about to change. They clinched the tie for the Wyoming Valley Conference, and they have a leg up on everybody with 3 to go, and yesterday they showed why. They flexed their muscle a little bit, 10-0 winners in a shortened game against Pittston. And Hazleton area slugging the ball real well. And oh, by the way, Becky Demko, back-to-back good games. So if Demko can keep up that great pitching and they keep up the hitting, not only are they going to win that Wyoming Valley Conference Championship, but they're going to be right in the thick of things for the districts and move on to states. But it looked pretty good yesterday. Now let's show you why they are in such good shape. There is the standings in the Wyoming Valley Conference. They have a 2-game lead over Nanticoke, and even though they play Nanticoke again, Hazleton area is in the catbird seat. You'll notice everybody else in the division is below 500, so it's really a 2-pony race here between Nanticoke, Hazleton area, and I think it's safe to say that the Lady Cougars are the ones who have the upper hand. Meanwhile, in Division 2 of the Wyoming Valley Conference, or I should say Division 3, that's where MMI is. You can see that the Lady Preppers with the 1-8 record are way out of the money. It's really Redeemer, Hanover area, and Northwest area who are the ones in the thick of things there. Now, let's talk about districts. Let's go on to the districts standings. Hazleton area has a definite lead right there over other Wyoming Valley Conference teams. However, Williamsport right now is the top seed because they're undefeated. If you're looking 4-0, they play in the Heartland Conference. That doesn't have a lot of teams. So as of now, Williamsport would be #1, Hazleton area #2. The good news there, 1 and 2 going opposite brackets. 1 and 2 get a bye. Down to the Schuylkill League. The Marion Colts, 4-run, 5th inning, made the difference in this game. They beat Weatherly 5-2. Meanwhile, Mauna area shuts out Shenandoah Valley, and Pottsville thumps Tamaqua. Now, in Wyoming Valley Conference baseball, MMI, they edged GAR. They kind of had GAR's number the last little bit. And Charlie Karshner, big day with the bat. MMI gets the win. Meanwhile, Marion, 8-5 winners over Schuylkill Haven in baseball as Frank Neitz drove in a couple of runs. So the Marion Colts remain hot. Volleyball, Holy Redeemer, 3-0 straight set winners over Hazleton area. We take a look at the schedules for what's going on today. Coughlin entertaining Hazleton area, Monoy and Marion. You also have track, Hazleton area and Wyoming Valley West. That's the way it's going to line up there. Now, let's go back to a little bit more of the standings. Let's take a look at baseball standings, if you will, and you take a look at that Wyoming Valley Conference setup, and you can see that the Cougars, as it stands right now, they would need a miracle. You see Berwick with the lead. In Division 3, MMI, a respectable middle of the pack, they're 4-6. Hanover, Myers, leading the division there. So MMI, we'll have to see what they do in the playoffs. And speaking of the playoffs, here's the way the district is lining up. Hazleton area right now would be the 3rd seed. Williamsport is 1, Del Val 2. There's the Cougars. They're tied with Wyoming Valley West. You see, there's not a dominant team in Quad A. News 13 Sports is sponsored by Sand Springs, featuring a world-class golf course as well as celebrations, the area's most luxurious banquet and wedding facility.
Welcome to this week's District Newsmaker. Today I'm with two gentlemen from the business office of Hazleton Area School District, and we're going to be speaking about the budget, a little bit of the budget update. What can you say about that?
To give you a little update on our budget, we're in the heat of budget season, I'll say. May and June is the time where we work with the board and try and get our budget balanced. We started this process way back in the fall where we deal with all our departments and our schools and get our requests in, but now we're looking through all the requests and trying to balance it. It's kind of a real balancing act. We're currently sitting at about 4.1 million deficit. Our budget's about 120 million, a little bit more this year. We do have budget meetings scheduled with the board and their public. We had one last Thursday, we have one this Thursday, and then we have one next Thursday. In May now, we have to approve a preliminary budget, which typically doesn't look a lot like the final budget. We spend a lot of time in June and also cutting. So just as a matter of formality, we approve a budget in May, and then our final budget is at the end of June.
All right, so for folks who want to follow along and maybe come to some of these meetings, you guys have set something up on the website. Can you explain a little bit about what's on your website?
Yes, that's correct. On our school district website, particularly in the business office, we have the updated budget on there. In addition, we are encouraging the public to sign up for these e-alerts. And what an e-alert is whenever something has been added to this website, I will send out an e-alert for every person who is subscribed to it, and right now they'll receive an email letting them know something has been changed on the website, specifically a budget meeting has been added or something of that nature. We are looking down the road to potentially also have a text sent if need be. We are going to put on the website how to sign up for these e-alerts, and again, we are encouraging the public to do that so they're involved with this budget process.
All right, very nice. So with the budget, finally, what is, the most important thing that you're really making sure you're budgeting for this oncoming year?
Well, for this coming year, we spoke about it before, we have a large increase in our retirement rate. All of our employees belong to the state employees retirement system, and the rate has been going up drastically over the past couple of years and continues to go. Our payroll's approaching $60 million, and when the rate goes from 8% to 12% to 16% for next year, there are multi-million-dollar increases each year. So again, it's a struggle to try and keep up with those increases and keep taxes down. The other thing is we're in the middle of a building program, as you probably know. So for next year, in September, we're opening our STEM Academy down at the Butler Industrial Park, and so we're budgeting to put all of those additional staff needs and all of the everything associated with that building coming online.
And once again, if you'd like to follow online with budget updates, you can go to hasdk12.org. And thanks, guys, so much. That's this week's District Newsmaker. We'll see you next week.
Plenty more news and information headed your way on News 13. The latest on the search for a pit bull that attacked a family pet and sent a horrified owner to the hospital. That story and much more news when the 13 crew comes right back.